Good morning, Earthlings. How you doing today? Josh Poet with you. First Contact Radio. Hope all is well where you live today. All right, let's start things off with our dream spell for today. Today in the dream spell, the date is the blue solar night. Blue solar night. Blue is the color of transformation. Solar tone is tone number 9. It's called the solar tone of intention. And the night is all about dreams. Think about when you go to sleep at night, you have dreams, and in those dreams there's a great amount of abundance because you're not limited to the ways of the physical world. So dreams and abundance all go into the idea of the night. The guide for today is the storm, and the storm is a gathering of energy. It's called self-generation, is another way to describe that. Altogether, the phrase for today is I pulse in order to dream, realizing intuition. I seal the input of abundance with the solar tone of intention. I am guided by the power of self-generation. On the Gregorian calendar, it is Wednesday, August 24th, 2011. So we are almost through our Mercury retrograde phase. Friday is the last day, the 26th. We're just about arrived at that point in time. And we are now in a new astrological sign. We've passed from Leo and we now are in the sign of Virgo. So we're moving right along this year. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue on with our spot about Kennedy and MJ12. Dirk Bradshaw, as I said, is off and about getting shows ready for getting some information and some shows together. But in the meantime, we're going to keep playing this. This is John F. Kennedy and his involvement with UFOs and MJ12. So we played the first part yesterday. Here's part 2 today. We'll play the rest of this week. Here we go.
About the direction that this is all going in, and if we're not careful, I mean, America's civil liberties are at stake, and the democratic system, no less, is being threatened by this. So this is pretty heavy stuff, and he was telling Kennedy. So this is, there's a picture there of Eisenhower meeting Kennedy in the Oval Office in 1960 when Kennedy was president-elect. So that was after the November elections in 1960. So Kennedy gets warned by Eisenhower about control of UFO files, how they're being mishandled, and presidential executive control has been basically lost. So what does Kennedy do? Well, Kennedy comes up with a strategy, and I think phases in Kennedy's overall strategy when we look at the 3 years that he was in power. The first phase concerns executive actions Kennedy took early in his administration to gain control over psychological warfare operations. Many psychological operations were directly related to UFOs and extraterrestrial life and were controlled by the Majestic 12 Special Studies Group or project. Gaining control of PSYOPs by his national security team was a backdoor method for Kennedy accessing highly classified UFO information. So this is the way Kennedy went about trying to reassert executive authority, taking control over psychological operations and putting it under the direct control of his National Security Advisor and his National Security Council. His executive actions led to bitter conflict with the outgoing CIA Director Alan Dulles and MJ12 that opposed granting Kennedy access and saw him as a direct threat to the continued operations and existence of MJ12. The second phase. Second phase concerns actions Kennedy took to learn about UFOs and extraterrestrials despite the lack of cooperation from CIA authorities with access to classified UFO files. Basically, he was told to get lost when he wanted to get access to these classified UFO files, but he still is Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the United States. So what does he do? Travels to US Air Force bases to view extraterrestrial artifacts. I'm Commander-in-Chief. I want to see what's in that warehouse. I'm Commander-in-Chief. I want to see what's in that base. He exerts that authority when he knows where to go, where the artifacts or where the information is. Meets with civilians with knowledge about UFOs and ET life, and allegedly participates in a direct meeting with extraterrestrials themselves. This is something that has not been kind of really covered very well at all historically. The evidence for it I'll admit, is pretty scant, but nevertheless, given the context of what Kennedy was doing, we have to look at this very, very seriously and not dismiss it out of hand. And their final phase, and this is the phase that I think led to the ultimate confrontation and the assassination. And it began in September 20, 1963, when Kennedy embarked on a high-risk political strategy of getting NASA to cooperate with the USSR on joint space and lunar missions. This brought to a climax a confrontation over the release of classified UFO files with the CIA and those in control of the MJ-12 Special Studies Project. And so there's the graphic from the 1975 joint Soyuz Apollo mission. Kennedy was wanting to basically have this kind of level of cooperation implemented over a decade earlier. So I'll begin now with the first phase, the struggle for control over psychological operations and classified UFO files. Picture of Kennedy with Alan Dulles, who was at the time CIA director when Kennedy became the president. So how much did Kennedy know prior to becoming president about UFOs? Was he new to this, or was this something that he actually had some information about? Well, according to one of the Majestic documents, the Interplanetary Phenomenon Unit summary, Kennedy was briefed about the UFO Roswell crash on July 22nd, 1947. And this is what it says in that report. It has become known to CIC, US Army Counterintelligence Corps, that some of the Roswell UFO recovery operation was shared with Representative John F. Kennedy, Massachusetts Democrat, elected to the Congress in 1946. Kennedy had limited duty as a naval officer assigned to naval intelligence during the war. It is believed that information was obtained from source in Congress who was close to Secretary for the Air Force. So Kennedy is just elected congressman in November 1946. So in January of 47, he is a new member of Congress, and then of course the Roswell crash happens in July of that year, and he gets briefed. He's got connections. After becoming president, Kennedy tried to gain access to UFO information and visited facilities holding ET artifacts and bodies. So he got some information while serving as a congressman, and then after he became president, he knew there was something to this. Combined with whatever it was Eisenhower told him, he wanted to find out more. One of the things that he learned was that this was very heavily involved with intelligence operations. The whole UFO ET issue was very tightly controlled, and intelligence was one of the military functions that was used here to assert control. So as a former Navy intelligence officer, 14 years in the US Congress, knowledge of UFOs in Eisenhower's warning, Kennedy knew that UFO information was closely related to intelligence, covert operations, psychological warfare, and a classified project called Majestic 12. So early in his administration, one of the first things he does is on 18th of February 1961, he issued Executive Order 10920, abolishing the Operations Coordination Board and placing all psychological operations under the control of his National Security Advisor, McGeorge Bundy. So basically, this is kind of like the warning shot. It's like this is you're firing across the bow of your adversary, using that naval metaphor. Basically telling them, I mean business, I want to get control, I want to know what's going on. And I'm going to take control through my National Security team, and using his National Security Advisor, McGeorge Bundy, he's basically saying to the intelligence community, I want you to share your information concerning psychological operations, all psychological operations, with my National Security Advisor, McGeorge Bundy. He'll brief me. So this is the warning shot across the bow, February of 1961, one of the first actions. So this was pretty clearly something that Kennedy was going to make an important part of his administration, asserting control over these intelligence operations, psychological warfare, and covert operations as well. Kennedy would also have been aware of Operation Majestic, some of the documents that were in existence concerning Project Majestic and psychological warfare. There were 3 1952 top-secret memos from the Joint Chiefs of Staff titled Joint Logistics Plan for Majestic 12. The memos were declassified in 1976, and they're available on the Majestic's website. And they state, quote, the following plans in support of Majestic are now under preparation. A psychological warfare plan, an unconventional warfare plan, cover and deception plans, a civil affairs military government plan, a command plan, a logistics plan, transportation, to be included in the logistics plan, a map and chart plan and communications plan. So this is a pretty vast project, majestic, that the military in 1952, this is a joint logistics plan involving all 4 branches of the US military, and very prominent in that was psychological warfare. So whatever Majestic was up to, it was clear that psychological warfare was a primary function that was being used to cover up its operations. And the US, all 4 branches of the US military were involved in this and were asked to assist. The memo showed that in 1952, a project called Majestic was underway, involved significant support, and this would be something you would expect of a project that was basically directly involved with UFOs and extraterrestrial life. Psychological warfare, covert military operations, civil affairs, military government, logistics, communications, etc. This was the probably the most important national security issue facing the United States as a nation in that era and continuing to the present moment. And so any project that was set up specifically to deal with this set of issues concerning UFOs, extraterrestrial life, would have to be very, very broad, encompassing a wide range of areas. And you would expect the military to be involved because these are the organizations that actually are very good at integrating a whole set of functions to fulfill certain missions. I mean, every other branch of the US government is pretty specific to a particular set of functions, whether it's intelligence gathering, the CIA, whether it's diplomacy, the State Department, whether it's health, Department of Health, Human Services, so forth. You know, they're all specific, doing all sorts of different things. So they're very specific. If you want to have something, keep it secret about the direction that this is all going in.
What if our government was responsible for some of the greatest crimes against this nation? Would you really want to know? These are big questions, but these questions deserve answers. It's time to demand the truth.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of people.
9/11 was an inside job. Kennedy was killed by the CIA. Jimmy Carter saw a UFO. Answers to secrets you need to know. So wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. The evidence is overwhelming. Step past your fear, take a look. Illuminati lies keep growing. What they're losing from your eyes. And wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up.